It says since December 2025, Minnesota has been a primary target of Operation Metro Surge. This has seen thousands of federal agents deployed specifically to the Twin Cities, targeting sensitive areas, according to a lawsuit filed by the Minnesota Attorney General and the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul in January 2026. ICE agents have specifically targeted individuals in formerly protected locations, including schools, churches, and medical facilities. Reported tactics: local reports and community observers have documented agents loitering near school bus stops and residential neighborhoods. There are also reports of ICE entering hospital areas, such as waiting rooms, which are technically public spaces. Legally, status of churches and schools, public versus private. Legally, ICE agents can enter public areas of these buildings, like church lobbies and school parking lots, without a warrant. The Fourth Amendment. For private areas, classroom, sanctuary halls, and private officers, the Fourth Amendment still requires a judicial warrant or consent. However, a secret DHS memo leaked in early 2026 suggests that government is now asserting administrative warrants. So this is different. This is not that it's never been done, but I don't think it's normally done in this situation.
What are the warrants? Maybe you're going to get into this because I might be missing it. The warrants would allow them to go after hardened criminals that pose a public safety risk.
Warrants allow you to go into spaces that aren't public. So if I have a warrant, I can go into your private home to come get you.
Okay.
Those warrants normally are signed by a judge, like a local judge. Well, I don't think ICE is going to have a very good time trying to get local judges in Minneapolis to sign off in that.
Can they do it federally? Get a federal warrant?
Well, that's what they've done, but it's not being looked kindly at. So a lot of people will say they're going into homes without warrants, but technically they're getting around that by having administrative warrants. So these are warrants that basically their own organization are signing off on. So it's like a Christy Nome is signing off on these, saying, okay, you can go into this home to get this person, or you can go into this school to get to this person. Now, I don't know if they're actually doing that for schools, but that's what this is claiming. And as people are saying that they're seeing a lot of people around the schools and bus stops. They're probably around the bus stops because they're trying to get the parents that are walking their kids to school, and trying to grab them. I doubt they're going after the 5-year-old kid. It's like, why would you need to do that?
Yeah.
They're usually going off after criminals, and then their family members are like, okay, we're going after, John Smith, but John Smith is with his wife, Sarah Smith, and their 5 kids. They're all not here legally. They're all coming. Okay. They're all leaving.
Chris said, isn't it, it's weird though that California, Florida, and Texas, who have way more illegal immigrants, are really putting up these types of protests. Who's funding those protesters in Minnesota?
They fund themselves. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by fund themselves?
They're funded by local governments, because I watch. So her name's Carlin Borisenko or something like that. But she's infiltrated these groups. She gets onto their Zoom meetings. She gets into their chats. Like, she's been following these chats longer than Cam Higbee has, and I've been watching her for some time now. But they're funded by small groups, smaller governments too. They're funded by small unions too. Unions are funding them. A lot of different things. And a lot of them are just funding themselves. A lot of people think that they don't have jobs, but they do. But their unions allow it, so they get around it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of. I think we talked about this on our last with Lily when we were going over Minnesota. But there are some other organizations. I don't think there's any proof. If you watch Bill O'Reilly's podcast, he talked about Neville Singman. Mm-hmm. And he's originally from the United States, I believe, but he lives in China, and he says a lot of the money's coming from them. But these are very organized groups. Someone's funding them.
Yeah.
You definitely get. I mean, Chris has a good point. They're getting funds from somewhere outside of themselves. People are getting paid to do some of this stuff. I mean, they have dispatch, they have medic, they've got They've got like 3 different types of watchers: people that are watching from home, people that are watching from foot, people that are driving around trying to find ICE agents. They're very, very structured and
Yeah.
organized, far beyond what would be a protest.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and they have like these little flyers. Carlin had mentioned this. They have PDFs that they send out to these people, and they have little flyers that they can print off on their computer. They have hotlines you can call into when you see an ICE agent, so you can tell the hotline that this is where the ICE agent is, and then from there they put it in the group chats, and they put it in the signal chats and the Zoom calls as they because they have like up to 50 people on the Zoom calls, and then
Yeah.
the signal chats can have up to 1,000.
That's right.
So yeah, it's highly organized, and it is highly funded amongst small groups, and you'll see that they do get taxpayer funded things as well through governments and grants. These small organizations, they
The
get
small
government grants.
organizations, and then they're able to distribute
Right.
it however they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of moving, well, staying within that same realm, but I wanted to read some of the, because I think this administrative warrant loophole is interesting, and I'm going to be honest, I don't love it. But I think it's probably effective, but I don't love it, and I'll explain why. But it says, in Minnesota, the answer to, well, so I asked the question: can ICE officers enter the home without a warrant signed by a judge in Minnesota? It says, in Minnesota, the answer to this has become the center of a massive legal conflict in January 2026. The short answer is, legally, the Fourth Amendment still requires a warrant signed by a judge to enter a private home. However, ICE has recently begun using internal documents to enter homes anyway. Here's a breakdown of the current situation in Minnesota. The administrative warrant loophole. A leaked internal ICE memo from May 2025. The old rule, just so you, for decades, ICE was told they could not enter a home without a judicial warrant signed by a judge or the owner's consent. So owner's consent, come on in, or the judge signing the warrant. The new rule, the current administration's memo, authorizes agents to use administrative warrants, Form I-200 or Form I-205, to enter homes by force if necessary. The problem, the administrative warrant is signed by an ICE official, not a judge. Constitutional experts argue that this is like an officer writing their own permission slip and violates the Fourth Amendment. Can they use force when they enter? According to the leaked memo and reports, agents are now instructed to knock and announce their presence. If the door is not open, they are authorized to use necessary and reasonable amount of force, such as breaking the door or lock, to enter if they believe someone with final deportation orders are inside. And I've seen this. I mean, they're busting down doors. Vice President J.D. Vance.
Hold on. Who's in those doors though? Like, who are they looking for? Are they looking for family members, or are they at, because like what I'm hearing is right now they're mostly arresting violent criminals.
Correct.
So if that's who they're after, if this person's violent and he's a public threat, or if he's a member of a gang, I don't have a problem with it. You get him off the streets.
Don't you think that's a slippery slope, though? I mean, then if you're a potential violent criminal, then you don't believe that warrants really any warrant should be able to be
detain
signed by
them
a police officer, their own police, because that means they could come in and say you're a violent person for whatever reason they think you are, and then they could just come in your house.
Yeah, but I'm not violent though. I haven't
I
killed
know, but
anyone.
that's
I
the
don't belong
point.
in a gang.
That Fourth Amendment protects people like you from that type of
Okay.
from people entering your home and not having a warrant. Like
Gotcha.
they shouldn't, in my opinion, they shouldn't be able just to enter in without a signed.
I see what you're
warrant
saying.
from
I wasn't
a judge.
following that. I follow it now. I get you. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Barbara Tarek said Don Lemon is a jerk. Hey, Barbara, you're late on that one.
That's all right. We love Barbara.
Yeah, we do. We love Barbara. So that is that's what's going on now. So here it says, While the government is currently carrying out these duties, legal advocacy groups like the ACLU of Minnesota maintain that this is unconstitutional. They still advise the following: if you open the door, ICE will claim they had consent to enter. Keep the door closed. So this is them actually telling them what to do. And I actually don't want to read this because because I don't, if they are violent, I want them out of here. I want them to open the door, step outside, and the ICE officers drag their butts, back to their own country. If they're not here legally, of course, they've got to be here legally. If they're here, I'm sorry, if they're here illegally, they need to go. If they're here legally, of course, that happens where they might grab the wrong person. We've heard that happening, but I've heard 4 or 5 stories, and maybe it's happening more, but I'd like to know percentages. Sure, you can give me the sob story of Joe Smith that was ripped out of his home, completely legal, and his family was wondering where he was at for 3 days. I've heard the sob stories. Eventually released, but went through the traumatic event, but then they're put back. Now, out of that happening, how many of them are people that are should not be here? And if it's 1 out of 1,000, then I'm okay with that. Like, nothing's gonna be perfect. Police officers have never been perfect. They make mistakes all the time.
They're human.
They're human. City police officers gets, not the officer, but the police department gets sued because they make the wrong mistakes. And, that should be something that, we're doing our best to identify the right people, but mistakes are going to happen. Lawsuits are going to happen because of it. But that doesn't mean that these things shouldn't happen. Like, you can't just stop because 1 or 2 mistakes happen, over a couple week period.
Yeah. You
And
recalibrate,
maybe
try to
it's-
fix the mistake, make sure it doesn't happen again. That's what you do.
Maybe it's more than 1 or 2 mistakes. I'm sure there's people that are saying, okay, I can find 82. Well, yeah, 82 out of the last 2 million people that we've gotten out of here. That's a pretty low percentage, and I'm okay with it. So
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily bother me. I feel for those people. I'm concerned. I want the people that shouldn't be here to go through the right process and come in the right way if we allow them to. And when I say we, of course, the federal government that makes the decisions allow them to, and that's just how it has to be.
Mhm.
I did mention that warrants have been used before. The administrative warrants have been used before, but they've been used more in a public setting. So let's say April's walking down the street, and I've got a picture of April, and I know April robbed a bank or whatever. You
Yeah,
know.
you see, I want to rob a bank.
What?
Who robs banks anymore? Like, you can't rob a bank
That's a
anymore.
stick up.
It's a stick up.
Put your hands up. If people aren't doing crimes, you're not really supposed to stop them and detain them. So this allows them, without potential legal liability, the administrative warrant allowed them to find people that weren't currently doing anything illegal on the street, not in their homes, and pick them up. So I use an extreme example, but really it's, Jose Martinez is walking down the street. I know this guy has got an order to be removed from our country, and now I can use this to say, okay, he's not doing anything illegal right now, but I know he's an illegal, and I'm going to use the administrative warrant for that. So they've turned that into, I'm going to bust down your door and rip you out of your home.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not the best look either. Some of these guys, it's obviously like super cold right now in Minnesota. It's negatives. That stuff doesn't necessarily bother me. I think a lot of these guys are fighting back. You're seeing like the poor me stories. Well, the guys aren't going without a fight. They're getting shoved out of their home and they're pushing back, and some of them are swinging back, and these guys are trying to get them into a car and handcuffed, and that's sometimes going to be messy.
Yeah.
They don't want to leave, and these guys are the people that are going after are normally criminals. So it's not like they're not. Some of these guys are violent. Not all, not all, but some are violent. And you're seeing, I think, the ones that are fighting probably are the violent ones.
Yeah. So here's kind of my take on this whole. I know we want to stay loyal to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and our the amendments and all those things. We want to try and stay loyal to that. But we're in like a breaking point in this country where we could be staring down the barrel of civil war. Or we could be staring. I mean, these people claim to be revolutionaries. This is a revolution that they're trying to implement into the country and take over the government. They've said this. They've said they've wanted to take over the government. I watched a stream today, a live stream of one of the protests, and the woman was screaming how they were going to take it to every state. Just push it, babe. Push it.
Sorry,
Put your back into it.
We have our
Wrong door.
wrong door. There you go.
There we go.
All right, we
got her.
one of our daughters here coming in to visit us.
She doesn't want to be seen, so
Yeah,
but she wants
she's
to
coming
be
by.
part of a live audience here. So, like, if you think about where I was, if you think about the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln implemented a lot of things that were not constitutional at the time. So, are we going to have? You need to ask yourself: are you willing to make exceptions to prevent the revolution from happening or a civil war from happening? Is Trump going to be a Buchanan or is he going to be a Lincoln? If he's going to be a Lincoln, you're going to have to see him take some things from the Constitution that you might not agree with, that are going to feel a little uncomfortable. Luckily for the Civil War, after Abraham Lincoln, things kind of went back to normal and we got it back under control. But we're really staring down a time in our country that you and I have never lived. Our kids have never lived.
That's for sure.
And I don't know. I fear we might have to loosen up on a couple of these things, which I don't like the idea of at all. Because
what are
you
you
take
saying,
those
though?
powers. I don't know what I'm saying. So if you take those powers, are they going to be given back to the people? Typically, it never is. With Abraham Lincoln, it did after the Civil War. We got a lot of those back. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But you have to, I don't know. You have to ask yourself, what are we willing to kind of overlook till Trump can get this under control? Because if he doesn't get it under control, it's coming to a city near you. They're coming for your kids. They're in your school district. Teachers unions fund these things too. The Teamsters unions, they've linked the Teamsters to them. So at what point, it's like, what are you willing to do to make sure to stamp this out? These people have to get arrested. They have to be stopped.
I agree. I agree. So are you talking about the protesters?
Protesters, and they're trying to dilute the voting bloc. Immigrants get counted in the census.
We'll talk about that a little bit later,
But they do get counted in the census, and that changes voting dynamic, whether they vote or not. Changes electoral votes. We can get into that later.
yeah.
But these are things, this is an unprecedented time of what we're experiencing right now. And Republicans are notoriously weak. Like, we're smarter than them, for sure. We're smarter than them, but they're stronger than us. If you don't think they are, look down on what's happening in Minnesota right now. They're getting crushed. We're getting crushed down there.
Chris has a point. He says there are little children in those houses. If the criminal is armed, now you're putting them in danger. I understand it's a criminal doing it, but I should catch those people on the streets. I agree. I don't think they should be in the homes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay for them to knock on the homes, and if they come out and they surrender themselves, or they're able to convince them to come out that door and nab them, I'm good with that. But I'm not good with them busting down their door, barreling in, and saying they got a warrant that's signed by themselves.
Seems a little silly, but
yeah, it seems a little not correct, right? It seems a little, I don't want to say corrupt, but it seems
not much oversight.
No, there's not much oversight. I mean, that's the whole point of having a judge sign off it. There's more oversight and make sure that it should happen, and it's just not police officers getting too aggressive, which is what the other side is claiming right now, that the Trump administration and how they're going about it is being too aggressive. So
I don't know. I think I disagree.
So you think they should barrel into the house and get the kid, or get not the kids,
the kid in front of their parent? Their parent's a criminal.
Well, we have criminals too, but we don't do that. So I guess you'd have to justify. You would have to say people in here.
I see officers arrest criminals in their houses all the time on cops.
Bad boys, bad boys.
What you gonna do?
What you gonna? So you'd
Hide
have
your
to, you'd
kids.
have to say that people that are here visiting or that are not citizens, that are illegals, do not have rights.
They're visiting.
Vacation.
They're vacationing and robbing banks, according to you?
I'm saying anyone in general, whether you're vacationing here or like, you know, if someone from France comes here and stays here for 2 weeks, or an illegal, you're saying no one that comes here to visit or stay here has rights, whether legal or
Not
whether
if
they're
you're
illegal.
a violent criminal. No, I believe you waive your rights when you do stupid things.
Is that part of the Constitution?
I don't know.
I think they still have rights. They don't just lose. They don't lose all the rights, or you know the
I don't know.
Fourth
I think our
Amendment.
country's in a point in its history where